Well, now that panic is aside, hello and welcome to everyone who is watching this interview on the Written Melanin channel, wherever this day may have found you. We are so glad that you are here. My name is Chelsea, and I am here with Lekes Cousineau and the Antoine Bandele, and we
Hey.
are going to be talking about his book, By Sea and Sky. And if you have been on the channel for any length of time, you'll know that we have talked to him once before, but the great thing about being us is that we also get to talk to him about the spoilery stuff in his book. So,
Yeah.
our first interview was a very nice one for those of you watching who had not read the book yet. This one, we're going to get into the details, the nitty gritty, because I read the book, she's read the book, he wrote the book. So, we are actually going to be talking about all the details. So, this is your spoiler warning. If you have not read the book and you don't care to be spoiled about what happened in it, then this is not the interview for you. In the future, this will be a recording, so I'll add a link down in the description to his previous interview if you prefer the one without spoilers. That being said, let's get into this.
Dive
Sounds
in.
good.
All right. And if you guys are watching this live, if you're one of our patrons or if you are one of the chosen that Antoine sent the link to, then this is a live chat. You can insert your questions and we will ask them for you. So feel free to interact with us as much as you please. All right. That being said, first of all, thank you for giving us the book. Thank you for letting us read
Yeah,
it.
for sure.
And we have questions for you, sir. I hope
Yeah,
you're
Lots of
ready.
them.
questions. I like answering questions, honestly.
You're right.
Okay.
I like answering questions, honestly.
Awesome. So, if it's okay with you, Lakeis, I'm just going to start us off on the one that
Dive
both of
in.
us have been dying to ask. All
Yes,
right.
please do.
So, Antoine, Lakeis and I are both big fans of Fawn and Shamari, right? Those
Oh,
are
that's
like
what's up.
those are like two of our favorite characters.
Yeah.
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 So, we got a little bit of backstory about I can't remember the ship of the Red Tide. We got a little bit of backstory of how those two met. But can we get a little bit more backstory about Fawn and Shamari? Like,
Yes.
how did they
How
meet?
they meet?
How did
What's
that
their deal?
relationship come about?
Yeah.
They met on the Titan for sure. Like they met with
Okay.
Captain Kobe. They
Okay.
both got conscripted onto that crew, sometime in the past. So who knows like when exactly? But it's always been, at least up until this book, and still kind of in this book, very one-sided on Shamari's case.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason for that, and this is me not knowing how much I can give away world building, because I try to do the whole iceberg thing where it's like, hey, you
Little up.
see
Yep.
this much, but there's a lot more underneath.
Mm-hmm.
So, for
Right.
example, the Paka, they're typically known, or Pakami, I should say, the plural. They're typically known to be very fickle and very quick about their relationships. And Aziza, who lived to be up to 500 years old, their childbearing takes 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
So they need
Ooh, no,
somebody
thank
who is
you.
very much committed. And so Fawn's always been kind of like, well, I don't know. I've heard about Pakami. I've seen your type before. You're not gonna stay around with me if I actually like engage with you like in a relationship, right? So this is all like backstory stuff that's not really happening because it's not their story, to
Okay.
see all that deep
Mhm.
stuff. Unless I do switch it up and have their POVs, which might happen in the future.
I recommend
Okay.
it. I'd read it.
Yeah. We were talking about like I want to read their book.
Oops, I'm sorry, that was my light. But yeah, so that's like the hang up in that relationship mostly is that there's this
Okay.
conception about Bakami. They have a attraction to Aziza oftentimes, but they often don't stick around, because they're like too quick because their lifespans are much shorter. They're actually a little bit a shorter lifespan than humans. So they're a lot more like, hey, gotta get this done, so it's weird for her to have this Paka, engaging her and continually doing that because she's like, wait, what? Are you actually like into like? And then she doesn't want to like do the drop on him, being like, you do know that like if you really want to be with me, like it's gonna take like 5 years to like start a family.
Mhm.
And so like they're getting to that point of, and then of course Shamari being the awesome Paka that he is, it's like, of course I'm going to like, what are you talking
Wait.
about?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna wait for you, like.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah, me too.
Because I was literally telling Case earlier today, like one of my I'm gonna say one. I'm probably say my favorite top line in the book is when they're on the sky ship and they're fighting and the Aziza, they're like, hey, y'all fly up, y'all handle the weather deck, and then we're gonna like come at them from both sides, right? And so Fawn gets a crossbow. She's like, wow, I missed these. And It's like there's a subtle hint, like, oh wait, Fawn's kind of a badass, isn't she?
Yeah.
And then,
Yeah, exactly.
Fawn is that girl. I love Fawn.
Yeah.
So much.
And then she like flies up and she's throwing people overboard. And I'm like, first of all, they're in the sky. That's a long way to fall. That's a
Yes.
long way to fall. You're gonna run out of breath screaming from how long you're about to fall.
Faint. You just faint.
Yes. And
Yeah,
then
you probably dead before you hit the
Yeah. How
yeah.
explosive heart attack.
And then Shamari is just there like, the future mother of my children, everyone. And he just says
Yeah.
it like, yep, that's mine.
So
that's my girl.
he swooned.
Yeah, just let everybody know that that's her. That's me. That's me
Yeah.
and her.
Yep.
Step off.
Yeah, that one's
Yeah.
mine.
I can go for it. Yeah.
So I love that, and I wanted to tell you that, and it was so.
Yeah, my mom made a puzzle of Fawn's head because she has artwork. I don't know if I shared that with you guys, but she has artwork as well.
You did it!
You
Oh my
did
gosh! Wait,
it.
is it on
I
your website?
apologize. Yes,
I didn't
I'm sorry. Let me I'm sorry. I should have done that.
I'm going to your website right now, and then we're gonna give you we're gonna box
Yeah,
your ears
so
at the end
if
of
you go to
this.
By Sea and Skies specific page,
Mhm.
you'll see a little link there that says like, read it now, listen now, and then there's also a little thing called art, which I have there special for people who are like, come to my website and like look there.
Uh-huh.
But yes, there's Fawn art on there, and Shamari's art is awesome.
Really?
I'll give you guys a direct link so we don't have to go hoppity skippy skips. Here we go.
Oh my gosh,
Awesome.
I love it.
Okay, I can't pull it up because if I go up, like, we're not going to be in
you're
our
gonna mess up
boxes
the-
anymore.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
I will look
you're
at
right.
it later.
Oh, I'm just gonna look at it for the rest of the interview. No, but okay, and I won't. So we're on the subject of like how Fawn and Shamari met. Can you tell us more about like Zala and Fawn? Like, what's the story behind their friendship? What is connecting them? Because they're so different,
Right.
Like they have
Right.
this common, like the common bond of being on the pirate ship. But like, what brought them together, and what keeps them together?
Especially
So that's
since...
another.
Oh,
yeah.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead, because you probably have a follow up on the question. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I was just saying, especially since Zala makes a note when she's on the Red Tide of she doesn't connect with other people. Like, she went
Right.
into this knowing that, okay, or thinking rather, that this is going to be a short-term thing. I don't want to get attached to
Mhm.
anybody. I don't want to get connected. So, like,
Yeah.
what takes her over to be like, I'm going to be friends with Fawn?
To let her in.
Because
Yeah.
it's like not an entire mindset shift, because she doesn't continue to make friends with everybody on the ship. It's literally just her.
Just
Right.
Fawn.
Exactly. So they were both stationed in the kitchens together. And Zala was having trouble because she's not a very good cook, which is something that actually comes up in book 2. Like, I'm actually writing the scene for that right now in book 2, where she's
Oh,
a
nice.
terrible cook when she's cooking with Montu. And so, so in the kitchen, she's just screwing up everything. She's not cutting, dicing the onions right, or knowing how to like fold the injera. So one of those days, Fawn kind of saw her and was like, "Hey, can I help you?" kind of thing. And then they just got into it there. She's like, usually she's like, I don't want to talk to you. I'm just gonna do my own thing. I'll screw up over here. But then she's like really screwing it. So she's like, okay, I'll let you in for a bit. And then of course Fawn works her like just friendly charm. She's like, whoa, you're not like the other pirates who are like completely crazy and nuts. And it's like, wait, how are you here? Why are you here? And then them like having the conversations about like why Fawn's there. She got disbanded from her clan back in the jungle that she's originally from. And then they kind of bond on their past lives and how they both didn't think they'd be ended up on a pirate ship kind of a thing. And so they came from there.
Okay,
So you think it's more like Fawn pulling?
It's
Oh,
definitely-
sorry,
it's
Chelsea,
definitely
go ahead.
Fawn.
No, you go
It's
ahead.
definitely
Okay. Oh yeah, he answered it. You know what I was gonna say. It seems like Fawn she's just
Zala
warm.
is not about
and-
that. Yeah, Fawn's the one who's definitely wants to open up first.
Yeah.
Well, since you mentioned it, like, you said she got suspended from her jungle?
Yeah, so that happens with a lot. So Aziz, again, a lot of my world building is like behind the scenes, which I have had some reviews going like, I wish you would have did it longer. And I'm like, I like trying not to over explain things. But,
Yes.
But
Yeah.
people seem to like it. So I'm like, okay, maybe I'll like start inserting just a little bit more. Like I'll push and see how far I can push until people are like, all right, too much world building, kind of a thing. So it's
Yeah.
always trying to figure that out, like
Sure.
how
The
what the
balance.
reader base wants. So Aziz, she's a half Aziza, I think, as I mentioned in the beginning.
Mhm.
Which
Yeah, that's why
means
she's
that
taller.
Right, yeah, she's a little bit taller. She's not like pixie length. She's not like a foot tall or anything. So usually when you're half, you're almost immediately disbanded because they only want pure Aziza. They don't want mixes of humans because Fawn is half human. So they typically are like, no, we don't want anything to do with the humans. If you went and fornicated with a human, then that's pretty much enough to be excommunicated. And so that happened
Okay.
to Fawn back in the past, where she, had a relationship with human because she likes humans. She's cool with everybody. She doesn't want to be just, with her Aziza clan
Yeah.
in the jungle that she's from. So she accepted that, and of course it would be cool too if that like she had a bad experience with a human where it's like, oh, I don't really want to be with you that long. You live for how long? Oh gosh, okay. And then someone left her, and then she's like, well, what am I
Mm-hmm.
supposed to do? And then kind of ending up in the pirate life kind of a thing. But yeah,
Right.
so and that happens actually is quite common if you see half Aziza or quarter Aziza are mostly
Okay.
what you see in the human world. You don't usually see pure blood
That's it.
Aziza out and about in this world, and
Okay.
that's another backstory thing, which is something that I do plan on getting into. Which is actually the cover I was mentioning you guys that I just got this morning is
Yes.
for another story which I've been likening to a fantasy Hustlers. If you remember J Lo's Hustlers from last
Okay.
Oh
year,
Lord Almighty. Oh
it's like that,
no.
but in fantasy. So love potions instead of date
Nice.
drugs that they were using on the guys. It's basically that, but with Aziza and fairies and love potions stuff like that.
Okay.
So
Okay.
that because the main protagonist in that isn't Aziza, we get a lot more of that kind of notion of how you're disbanded as Aziza because it's an Aziza perspective book, and since this one wasn't an Aziza perspective book, I was like, oh, I don't think that world building should show itself. But there's so much stuff that I know that's happening that I'm like, but I don't think that's servicing the story, kind of a thing.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's clear when you're reading the book, like this world goes very, very deep. Like,
It does. It shows like the level of research you put in to know about because a lot of I don't know if people watching, just a reminder if you watched last time, and just info if you didn't watch last time. A lot of what Antoine's talking about is African mythology and folklore. So there's a deep level of research that went into this. So I just think that's so cool, and it makes us want to learn more because, I mean, we just don't see that very often in books. I think that's what drew Chelsea and I to the book, not just the fact that you have this really powerful looking black woman on the cover with short hair and she's a sky pirate, but like we have the opportunity to learn about folklore and mythology that we otherwise might not have. So I think that was just so cool. Not a question, just wanted to throw that out there.
Okay.
I just thought it was I love it.
Yeah.
I'm a research head, so I'm here for it.
Say what?
Ravenclaws, man.
We are. I'm like a Gryffindor who likes to read. That's what I tell myself.
oh god. Okay. That kind of took my brain completely in a different direction because when she was talking about the research, I respect research. I am not a researcher myself, only because I generally don't write heavy fantasy in that sense. But I can appreciate it because it definitely reads different when you have someone who has done the research and has built the world. And when we have conversations, right? Your world well enough to be able to be okay, there's this completely other part that I didn't add in,
Yes.
but I know
Yes.
it. I know it, right?
Yes.
So
it makes us excited for the next ones. Sorry, go ahead, Chelsea.
It does. And that also brings me to the next question because I know in your first interview we talked about, you striking a balance between the research and also making it your own. And one of the things that I was curious about is we have a point, where Jelani is captured and we find out more about Jelani and that, he's a priest. And they go about the old ways, and that's mentioned before, right, with Zala and Mantu, and she's like, he was always quoting, I don't know if they call it scripture. I don't think that's the word that you use.
Sorry.
I don't think I have the scripture, but I don't even remember what I call their praying or whatever. Oh no, there was a word for it. Now that you're mentioning it, I'm like, oh yeah. Because Zala uses it against him on that island.
Yes.
Lord Almighty. Yeah.
I know what you're talking about, the sayings or whatever they were. I forget what it.
Yes,
what
I
it
can't remember the exact word, but in my brain I likened it to scripture, and so that's the kind of.
And the same too with Kareem and Issa. With Kareem and Issa, that's a huge thing that she still follows the old way. So the religion definitely has a underlying theme.
There's split, yeah.
So can you talk to us more about that? What exactly are the old ways, and how much of that is actual African mythology or African practices versus what you added into? Because I hate to admit it, like I am completely unknowledgeable, right? I know
Mhm.
pretty much nothing, right? And so I'm just kind of like, how much of this is myth? How much of this is real? How much of this is your own spin on it? And like, how is that different from the ways that the Vaji practice? Is that how you say the Vaji?
All right, let's get ready. Let's get ready. So it's pretty.
Strap
so there's
in,
more
listeners.
stuff that is like it's a lot more world building material. But yes, so a lot of it is based on it's a shampoo of African religion myth scenario. So you have like ancestor worship. You also have pantheon going
Right.
on. So it's kind of a mix of the ancestral worship that you get a lot through West Africa, but then also specifically some of the pantheons they have, like if you know about Anansi or like the Yoruba Orisha. So
Yeah.
for instance, like one of them is basically a direct rip, but split. Like I don't know if I mentioned it in the book itself, but there's a god or goddesses that are called Yamaya, which
Yes.
is
You mentioned them.
a Orisha. Orisha is one of
Mhm.
which is awesome because Beyonce totally gave shout
Oh,
outs to
she's
Yeah.
leaning hard into that
which is
lately.
amazing. Which is amazing.
It's so cool.
Um,
Yeah, it's your Reuben pantheon from
yes,
like West Africa. Yeah.
yes, it's so
As the
totally awesome.
researchers talk, you guys.
which is what
The
my
Orishas are dope.
yeah, their mythology is super killer. So there's two moons in my world. So there's the big moon and the small moon. The big one is being seen by Yem, and then the small one is done by Aya. So it's not like the real term is one term Yemaya, but it's really now I just did Yem and then Aya. So
Yeah.
it's like, oh, the two moons working in concert, and it's still within that same scope because Yemaya is the goddess of the moon and the ocean and stuff like that. So in the Yoruba myth, but in mine it's like a split, and it's like under the two moons, and then there's like a little sister and a big sister, kind of like overseeing all of that. In reality, two moons is really bad for your tides, but it's magic, so we're not gonna worry about
It's
that.
fantasy. It's fine.
Yeah, it totally works.
But then we'll have other things like Shati is completely made up, but it's based on the notion of having a monotheistic faith, even though you distinctly came from a polytheistic faith, and specifically you knew that these gods actually exist and they still work through you through magic, stuff like that. So I was like, okay, well, how would a monotheistic kind of thing like work? And I was like, oh, well, some people might have a certain affiliations for a certain god, like in Egypt they had Ra and the sun god, like they were like, that's our main one right there. So I was thinking, what if someone did that and it was like, no, forget all the others? I'm like, okay, what's the backstory of that? What would have happened? And I was thinking, okay, so let me make one of the gods. The goddesses give, or at some point in the past, give humans magic, and that was the reason why their followers were like, we should only be focusing on her because the other ones didn't give us magic, and before they left and did whatever god things they're doing now. We should only worship her because she's the one who gave us free will. She gave us her minds and our magic. So like I have a society who is just like, no, we only worship this one god. And then I have that whole thing with Allah at the end, because Shati Allah. You can do that for any of the gods. So you can say Yamaya Allah, or you can say Ogo Allah. Like it depends on how honorific you're making or how much on a pedestal you're putting that certain god. So Allah obviously is tied to the Islamic faith, but it's like adding on that little thing on the end. So you can say something, you can say Shati, but that's kind of like saying it in a casual way. Depending on who you're talking to, that's very disrespectful. If you're talking to a Vaji, for instance, very disrespectful if you do that. But if you're just kind of like casual, like, well, because some people like Issa believes that, all the gods should have equal footing. So she usually doesn't use those honorifics. So yeah, that's another bit too. And there's a lot of god lore, but yeah, some of them like Yamaya are completely tied. Some like Shati and Shati Allah are like, kind of like a different mix that fit into S1 itself.
Okay.
Yeah, depth. There's a lot of depth there, and it shines through. That's good.
You know
That's
what's
really
so
good.
fun? It's when I ask a question and I'm like, okay, surely we're only going about 6 feet, and then we go out in the middle of the ocean and we just drop. And I'm
Sink
like,
to the bottom. Let's go.
cool. There's
Let's
so much
go.
there. There's so much there, and I love it. I love it.
I
Yeah,
could have kept going too, but I was like, let me just answer the question.
Well, that's great though. I mean, Chelsea and I talk about this a lot with not just our writing, but like we're reading other people's books. It's just so important to. It doesn't. I don't think this just applies to fantasy.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's really important to know inside and out the inner workings of your world. That didn't make sense. That was contradictory. I said inside and out the inner workings of your world. But you know what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying. You know what I meant. You have to know your world. You have to know your characters. And like, again, just hitting home what Chelsea said earlier, you were able to
hear the question and give us the entire like history of the gods and goddesses, which is so dope. So you've mentioned that you like to work with. We work with some West African. We've pulled in some Islamic culture. Do you want to pull in more world cultures for future books?
So
Which ones are you leaning more toward?
Yeah, so I don't know if I mentioned before, but I'm writing basically the prequels to the actual saga books.
Okay.
So the first book I did was the Kishi. That was more
Yeah.
like Angola influence. So that's more like Southwest Africa.
Mhm.
And now with the pirate stuff, it's more East Africa, and then also like kind of transplanting the Caribbean into like the middle of
Yeah.
like the Red Sea, basically, like between
Right.
Arabia. Fake. Obviously, that's not how it really works. But again, fantasy. You could do this in fantasy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
we dig it.
I'm
Yeah.
building things out a bit by bit, and then the next one that I'm doing, the one that I mentioned before with the J-Lo hustlers, but fantasy, takes place on the islands themselves. Like it's totally just on the islands, and then I'm doing one
okay.
that's based on Mansa Musa,
Yeah.
called Lord of the Mines, and then I'm doing one that is based on the Congo, which is where the Aziza and kind of most of the other mythical creatures kind of reside. I'm doing another one from Tales of Eswan that takes place in like kind of more southeast Africa, and that one's going to be based on the Kariba myth, which is kind of like the sand snake that that they said 50 years ago prevented a dam being built in the Kariba River years ago. But I'm doing this, so I'm building out the world's
Googling
each little
it.
corner bit by bit as all of these are prequel series until I actually do my proper saga book, which is called the Ashanti Chronicles, which is something that is like that's the end goal, and probably not going to happen for like another 7 years or something like that, depending on how long it takes me to make all these. But yeah, these are all stepping stones of like, okay, I'm building out this little section, and I'm building out this section, and then this section, and then like,
yeah, you're
okay,
working
now
up
I have
to
a
it.
world map, but now it's a fully realized world map, not just like well, I know something's over there, I know that kind of happened over there. I now have stories that like, oh yeah, that's where like Zala and Jelani first found out that airships exist. Oh, right over here, that's where Amana found out that the Kishi were like ravaging this village, so that they all have context to them before I make the big like
right.
fantasy epic.
That's gonna be like
quick.
epic once it's all together.
It'd be so cool. Question, because I love to Google. What's the snake called? You said it's a Kariba?
Yeah, Nyami is what it's referred to. So Nyami, and it resides near the Kariba River. So sometimes they call it Kariba, and sometimes they call it Nyami.
Found it. Bye. See you guys later.
Bye. She's about to fall down her rabbit hole of research.
Yup.
I'll just save it for later.
Pinterest? I bet you.
Oh yeah.
He has like no Pinterest rule or something.
No. Okay, so I'll look at that later. Sorry, Chelsea, you go ahead. I will keep asking him mythology questions. We'll be here till tomorrow, so you go ahead.
Okay. Well, since we're talking about all of these books that you're planning to write, I know that you have a sequel planned that is called Of Ruin and Silk. What can you tell us about that? Because I have questions. I want to know like what's coming up. Because you end by seeing Sky in such like I feel like the middle of the story. Like, okay, there has to be more to this. Like we can't leave off with Jelani gone. We can't leave off with Nubia captured. We can't leave off with what's the other Aziza? What is her name? I cannot.
Yukaja, who just got stone skin?
Yes, she just got stone skin, and Zala's like trying to brew something to help her. Mantu is without sniffs, and like there's so much that's happening. So like, do you get more in a Ruin?
Yeah, so literally everybody you mentioned like gets mentioned going forward.
Okay, good.
Like,
good.
They're all moving to Alanim. They're now, so it's kind of transporting from the sea to land, and it's Kareem's land, so it's kind of Kareem's home turf. So it's kind of not so much that it's his book more, but the focus is a little bit more Kareem leaning in the second book, and kind of where he comes from, like what it's like to live in Vaj, and so it's mostly more about seeing the choices they make and how they're going to move forward with it. So obviously, we have Zala having her big screw up at the end, her learning from that and how she's going to push forward and make right on that. And also, she's progressively figuring out in the series how to live beyond just Jelani. Like that's her whole thing is learning how to love beyond just her one, person. Like, she's opened up fine. She realized, okay, it's cool to open up a little bit. And now forcibly she's going to start having to open up with Mantu when she just lost sniffs for him, so she's going to try and make that right for him. And so she's going to progressively figure out like how to work with people and why that's important.
Right.
And there's some things that happen in the city itself, Alanim, that where she's going to learn more of that. And then with Kareem, he's got all this new responsibility because he's going to be given this new position, you know, as capturing Captain Nubia and like, you know, dealing with pirates and stuff like that.
Mhm.
So he has all that, you know, that he has to deal with. And then also there
Yeah.
is a lot of issues that are going on in Alanim. That one's based on a lot of Arabia, particularly the tax that used to be imposed by the Islamic faith, where, you know, it's fine, you can do whatever faith you want, but we're going to tax you extra if you don't, you know, submit. It's I think it's called jinsa or jizna. I forget what the term is, but there's actually a term for the Islamic tax that they impose on people. And there's a little bit of that, so there's a little bit of political intrigue in the next one. But still action adventure, because there's like, you know, people get mad at each other. You have pirates who are, you know, got grudges, stuff like that. So, you know, it's plenty of sword fights and a lot of
Good.
as well.
Love it. Love.
I have other questions.
Go ahead.
On that.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
The two that I really want to know are: is Sniffs okay, or is he like gone for good?
That's something that's got to be revealed in that's a book 2 reveal.
Okay.
That's a book 2 reveal. But he's awesome though, especially him coming at the end. And that's another thing too. The talking about the God stuff, where he's like, well, I'm not really doing it for you, Zala. I'm doing it for Ilopa's Ban, because Ilopa is like, you know, the goddess of like love and stuff like that. He's very religious as well, and you know, like for him to go like, well, you know, like I know what you have with Jelani, like I've seen it before, and you know, I want to fight for that. I'm not necessarily fighting for you because I don't know if I really like you all that much.
I don't really like you, but
yeah. But
I don't like you like that.
So true. And for him to know that, particularly because he has that bond with Montu, I thought was a really good moment for him, because before he seems like kind of like just the brute who's like,
he seems
I'm
like
just
his
gonna
hype
beat
man.
things. Right, exactly. But then like, at the end, you're like, oh wait, you actually have something about you, and then it's like, oh, now he's gone. Like we like him, now he's gone. Oh, no.
Yeah.
But yeah, his reveal. He's definitely revealed what's going on with Sniffs in the next one.
Okay, good.
Okay, good. And then
Good.
the members of the Red Tide, like, are they after Zala for the botched plan? Because their captain is like gone, and that's kind of a major thing for them, I would think.
Yes, it is. Like I was saying before about pirates and having grudges, the pirates and having grudges. Now, it doesn't happen right away. Not to spoil too much, but it's also just at the beginning of book 2. But Zala does try to make things right and to work things out with them, and she comes close to doing that. But then Montu does something that
of course
kind of throws a wrench in that, because he's so paranoid that they might recognize him because of his tattoos. Oh yeah, by the way, the facial tattoos is another world building thing. It's a thing where you get the marking so that you can better communicate with your general telepath, because the telepaths are kind of like walkie-talkies in battle sometimes, where they're giving orders to, again, another thing that hasn't come up yet, because again, not really hasn't been relevant, but another thing that's in the background. So yeah, he screws something up pretty bad, and then the Red Tide is not very happy about that, and yeah, so Zala will have to deal with that.
Okay, because I was like, it would be great if like they help her in the next book, but then I'm also like, I don't know about that though. Like,
it goes the direction of that, where they were about to help her, and it's her, and also it's her learning to be like, okay, let me like open up and try and like get to know these people, and then she does it, and then Monty does this big screw up. And it's like, God damn it, I was working him. Like, what's going on here?
It's like when you ran
figuring out her
con.
loyalties. Yeah. And it's like, well, in the loyalty factor too, because it's like, well, do I really care that much about Montu? Should I be saving him in this situation? I want to be cool with the Red Side, and then figuring out that like, you can't always please everybody. Eventually, you're gonna have to choose your friends specifically, or who you're loyal to. And I like presenting those kind of conflicts and situations where it's like, well, you got to make this choice between, you know, 2 parties, you can't have them both, you know, kind of a thing.
Right.
And her figuring that too. She's like, this is the reason why I don't interact with people. Like, it's too complicated, you know.
Yeah.
Yes.
For sure. Well, that kind of. Sorry, Chelsea, you had more questions. You want to ask yours before you?
Go
Okay.
ahead.
Well, I was wondering, like, we're kind of talking about, you know, Zala's struggle with getting to letting people in and all that good stuff, but like, how did Zala and Jelani, like, how did she decide this was her one? Like, how did they meet?
Well. So
why do they get married?
So that is a so the thing is, the issue kind of, I think it helps if people read the prequel, because that sees them when they are together without having the issues of piracy, because where we are in the
Right.
relationship right now is that it's very like stress induced, and even I think Azala like internally mentions that, like, when's the last time we've like been together? Like, I don't remember his body being that scrawny. Like, how long have we been out on sea? Like, you know, because she's just focused on keeping him alive, so they haven't really had time to cultivate the romance in their relationship. So we're kind of in like a rocky point. So it might feel like, oh, well, they don't even like each other, but it's like, no, it's just that they've been like pirating for months and months and months, and it's kind of hard to like deal with that and still, you know, maintain the relationship. So that is revealed. That's actually a book 3 revealed, about their whole backstory about the first time they met. But basically, Zala ran away from her home, ended up on the islands. People who end up on the islands usually are running away from something. You know, it's like a scoundrel's place. She was actually stealing from him the first time they met. Like, she was thieving something off of him, and I think she was getting something that was turning or was about to be rotten. And Jelani is like, he mentions like, you don't want to take that one. It's like, you know, you'll make yourself sick, kind of a thing. You know, like being cutesy with her. And then she's like, wait, what? Like, you can see me? You saw me like thieving this whole time? You've been allowing me to do this? And he's like, well, yeah, it looked like you're hungry or whatever. And, you know, because Jelani's like this very like, you know, chill guy, kind of like, you know, he's definitely an islander where he's like, you know, it's all good, man. There's enough fruit for like, go ahead and just take it. And he's like, I don't know why you stole it. You could have just came here and like asked for it. And Zala being like the what, like, you know, paranoia kind of thing, like, what's going on? And then like they open up on that, but that's all of that and their backstory is revealed in book 3.
Okay,
so
gotcha.
That is coming out.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then also the prequel, the Stone Skin prequel, showing of how Jelani got the Stone Skin, which
how
is
he got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
thank you.
You mentioned that a little bit, and it's like everybody knows about this incident, and she's just like, yeah, no, that was mine. Yeah, I know about it. I know
he did
what happened.
that. He
did the thing.
Yeah.
So, Stone Skin, right? Like, personally, I found it intriguing because I was like, oh, okay. And, like, especially when we got later in the book and you had the ship doctor, explaining it and how it actually works and what it does and how, like, Jelani can't feel pain anymore, right? And I just thought it was really interesting, like, how that works. So, again, is that something that I have multiple questions in this vein? But the first one is just like, is that something that you made up for the purposes of the book, or is that something that's like actually in the lore that you pulled from?
That's completely made up. So Stone Skin is completely made up. Okay. And the thought, I forget even how I even came with it. I just think I needed a disease. So, okay, what kind of disease does he have? And then I thought up the Stone Skin. Can't remember the reason for it, but the idea behind it is that if a mystic uses a bit of God's glass, which is kind of like a boost to their magic, and it gets to the core, it's basically a curse because, like, you know, humans weren't supposed to be using, you know, the sacred God's glass or anything like that. And if you get to the core and you touch it, then you get, you know, the Stone Skin's curse. And it's something that progressively. So, I remember why I wanted to allude it to HIV and how you perpetually have to take, you know, your medicine or cancer, you have to keep taking your treatments to, like, you know, stave it off, kind of a thing. So I kind of wanted that, but in a fantasy setting. So, like, this disease that progressively keeps growing unless you actively take, you know, the measures to slow it or stop it. And having that timeline visually there for them so that they, you know, in the beginning where she's like pulling up his shirt and she's like, wait, what? When had it got to your shoulder? Like, it was only at your forearm, kind of a thing, so you can always know progressively, oh, he's getting worse, and then him becoming less and less Jelani because, you know, he's getting all stoned up and everything. So I wanted that there. Again, for the ticking time bomb, but also the benefit of it is that, you become pretty strong, and that you don't feel pain. And also, I was like, people are always like, well, why doesn't he just cut off his arm? And I was like, that's a good point. And I was like, I'm going to make it so that the disease combats against that, so that once it knows that it's trying to be sliced through, it actually starts festering in that location. So that's why he has a lot of spots that are unconnected, because it's from his battle wounds from when he's, like, you know, having swords fights, stuff like that. So, like, like that beginning when he got speared through the gut at the beginning, and it's like, what? How are you not dead? It's because, like, the Stone Skin. It's like a little Easter egg of being like, oh, he's being protected. And then later on, when he's like having the interviews with Kareem, he's like, yeah, I don't feel pain. You can't torture me, like, because I don't.
Yeah, that's a nice way that you connected that.
Yeah.
See how it's like a blessing and a curse to an extent?
Right. Yep. It definitely is.
I like how it's like, and I know it's a disease, right? But it's kind of like, no, you're not going to kill you. I'm going to kill you. You want to cut something off? Absolutely not going to happen. You know?
Nope. You're staying with me, dog.
With me to the end.
The next question that I had kind of in that same vein, are we going to see more like magical illness or very specific illnesses like that going forward, or is like Stone Skin like the big baddie and it's just like the only one?
Well, Stone Skin is actually a pretty rare one. But yeah, there are other ailments that people have that aren't related to just Stone Skin. There's definitely more magical diseases out there.
Okay, cool. So yeah, that's what I wanted to know. And I also wanted to know kind of about the sky ship, right? Because Zala, yeah, they didn't get to keep it, right? They ended up falling from the sky in a longboat.
Right.
I also, kudos to you, because I also really liked how later on Kareem was like, why didn't they, or Issa's like, why didn't they just take a glider? Like, that was
gliders,
dumb.
because if you're going speedy, because I knew, again, world building, I was like, okay, I know there's gliders here, but they wouldn't know that the pirates would, because they don't know where to look in the storage unit where they keep their gliders, or
right?
Whatever like that. So like they're looking at them doing this whole longboat like excavate. They're like,
that was dumb.
If y'all put 2 steps that way, y'all would have the gliders that way because we thought about the situation, like.
I like that. I like that little touch in there. The other thing I was going to ask is, do we see more of Zala interacting with the skyship, or are we moving on to like a different realm of the story, different goals?
It's still, so that was kind of like the setup at the beginning where this person's kind of like talking about the story of Zala, and they had to like, it's not that amazing, guys. She's not that amazing, she yeah, sure, like there's these. Well, what's funny about it is that, so like I think the person in the beginning mentioned something about a lost city. They talk about her leading the raid on Kongamatos. Those things are true. Those things will be happening. But they're not, and they are associated with Zala, but they aren't directly. And I kind of was just going with the notion of like how legends kind of created, because at the end of the day, the person who wins it kind of gets the claim of all those legends, because it's true that Zala does end up taking the airship and she becomes the first sky pirate, but the way in which she gets there, like her path to it, isn't tied to all these other like rumors and things that. Yeah. But those rumors do stem from something, in the same way that myths and folklore kind of stem from something, even if like
always
the stories behind them aren't necessarily the exact way it happened. So I was kind of playing up that in the next one we're going to see have a Kongamatos, which are like flying pterodactyl looking, and that's coming from from African mythology, specifically I think from the Congo. So we're going to see how those guys factor in, and then in the third, oh my god, like he's falling. Then in the third book we're going to see how the Lost City factors in as well.
Okay. Cool. Here for it.
So here for it. Okay. I feel like we're both trying not to talk over each other.
Okay. Yeah, I saw it.
We were. I was just like,
she gonna talk.
I feel like we both feel like we've been talking too much, but you go ahead, Chelsea.
Okay. So we've been talking very specifically about the book, right? So kind of shifting just a little bit to talk about like you and the book. Are any of your characters based off of like people that you actually know, and are there any other Easter eggs, or I say other, like I know them. Are there any Easter eggs in the book for, like specifically for people who know you well? They're going to be like, I know where this came from.
Well, obviously, Jelani is my father's name. So that is that's a huge thing.
I like that.
I also put in my stepmom's name. Her name is Asia, and I had Asia Bay as one of the places, because Asia is actually, it's an Arabic name. And so I had Asia Bay, which is briefly mentioned, like it's like you blink, you miss it. I think it's mentioned like twice, but it is a location on the map. Was named after her. Zarya, who is my sister, hasn't shown up yet. I don't think I mentioned her in book 1. I think she's mentioned in book 2. She's a princess. That's a princess character that we're going to get introduced to based on my sister's name. And I haven't quite had a place for my brother. His name is Aaron. That's a Hebrew, so I haven't figured out a place for him quite yet. So I'll figure it out for my brother.
You'll bring them all in.
But so there's a few name drops in there that are related directly to Fawn's name, not related to my family, but Fawn is based on, so the Aziza myth comes from the Dahomey people, also known as the Fawn people. And I was like, okay, cool. Let me name, her name is Fawn. And also I like that too, because she is largely based a little bit on Final Fantasy XII's Vila race. It's a Final Fantasy, people who know it will know. But Fawn, there's a character named Fran, and I was like, oh, Fran, I'll do Fawn people, awesome. That's gonna be like my allusion to both, but no one's really gonna know that but me.
So now we all know.
Now we all know. The entire internet knows now.
We're in the loop. I like that. I like it a lot.
I love it.
Yeah, a lot of name stuff in there, and sometimes some of the characters are influenced by people I know in reality. Like I know definitely Nubia was based a lot on my aunt in particular. Trying to think of some other characters like that. Shamari is always like, you know, any kind of wisecracking friend that I've had in the past, you know, who can't go a minute without joking or being silly or whatever.
Yeah, I think we all know that person. Like, can you be serious
Yeah.
for like 5 minutes?
Nope. It's always a quick nope. Hurts me physically. Yeah. I had a question. Lost it.
I'm looking over
Dang
the
it!
questions because I feel like we've gone through so much.
I know.
And I'm just like,
Oh, one more.
Oh,
At least not the last one, but since we were just talking about like the inspirations for the names, was there a particular character that you felt more like connect with? Like we talked about like how Fawn's your mom's character, and Chelsea and I love, you know, Fawn and Shamari. Do you have a favorite? Is someone that you enjoyed writing for more, or are you just like I love all my babies? Like how do you feel about?
in book 2, definitely Issa. Issa gets some POV.
Oh,
I
okay.
like Issa or
chapters.
Issa.
Yeah.
Well, it's only because I'm basing on the original Arabic, but yes, in America we say Issa, which is actually something hard for me because when I was doing it, and my editor was like, "Well, it's Issa," and I was like, "Really?" I'm gonna look it up, and I was like, "Oh yeah, Arabic, it's Issa," but I was like, "We say Issa here."
We just say Issa.
That's
Yeah.
how I read it.
Yeah. Yeah, she gets some POVs. I liked her a lot. In terms of like the cream POV. I also like writing Maloof. Maloof was fun to write because that guy is just like a buffoon for sure.
Yeah.
It's just fun to write him because he's just ridiculous. Especially that scene that when they're at the doors trying to get into his office by like getting Jelani in there, and then they're like, "Let us in. We're not." And he's like, "You're joking. There's pirates with you. Like you dagger at your knife or at your back, and you're trying to get in here." And he's like doing this ridiculous. He's just fun to write. Shamari's always fun to write. Like any scene with him is super easy to write, especially with the fight scene stuff too. But I think the one that I actually just like the most would probably be Fawn. I just like I would want to hang out with her. I just want her to be my friend.
Same.
She's so kind and brave. Those are amazing qualities, and she's caring. She's definitely my favorite
she's
character.
super compassionate, man. Like,
Yeah,
she's just a nice
and I mean she's a
Hufflepuff.
fairy. Yeah, she's definitely a Hufflepuff. So yeah, okay, thank you. I wanted to at least ask that one. So Chelsea, take it away.
All right, since we're talking about favorites, what is your favorite thing about Zala? Because while we were reading the book, we were talking about all the things that she's doing, and girl has an uphill battle. All right, she's got an uphill battle. And
both ways.
Right?
What she does.
She never crests the hill. Like she gets to a plateau, and then she's got another uphill journey to go.
It's like, yeah.
So, what was your favorite thing to like write into her character?
Yeah.
What I admire most about Zala, and it's the reason why I wrote these qualities in her, is that she has a lot of perseverance. Like she's just never ever compromises like at all. Like she and you know to her detriment, which she's learning, you know, right now. But I always have admired that about people who are very, because I'm not that super, you know, like gun-ho about things, and like for her she's just like she will not fail Jelani by any means. Like what she's going to do, she's going to get it, and she doesn't care like what other people are kind of saying. She's just like, and you kind of need that determination to make things happen just in general. It's a certain little thing that you need, and all she needs now is just like she's going to be unstoppable once she gets the compassion part back in there for everyone, not just for one person. But yeah, I just love just that focus of like, this is what I want and I'm gonna go get it. And then I don't care if the gods are in front of me, I don't care if the empire's in front of me, I don't care if you're two big dudes are like, you know, trying to like, you know, press up on me, I'm gonna get through this.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it.
I think it's important to I think it's important to highlight that characteristic of not just, you know, Zala, but like I'm a little biased, but Black women in general, like if we do nothing else, like we persevere
right
daily.
Do you have any other choice?
Yeah. That's all we got. So I like that bit of realism in there. Like nothing is handed to Zala. Yeah. Zala has to work for everything, and that was really relatable. As much as we might want our Black characters to just have it as easy as their like white counterparts, sometimes it kind of grounds you with them.
Yeah. What
they have to go through.
Absolutely. I have nothing to add to that because she said it. And the last question that I kind of have for you, because we're coming up on like an hour, so we're gonna have to, like,
shoot, it always goes by too fast,
right? Kareem and Issa. That's it, right?
Yeah, that's
Issa.
fine.
Issa.
I say Issa sometimes. All like honestly, not too much.
Okay, because I don't want to mess it up. I want to stay true to what it's supposed to be. But what is their relationship like? Because I get the feeling that they're like really close. Because I think you mentioned that they grew up together, and so I'm like, is it like a true just like friendship brother sister thing, or are there like underlying feelings there? Because Kareem is interested in absolutely nobody. Because it's mentioned several times that they're like girls literally throwing themselves at him, and he's just like, get out. Like
he's a career man. He's a career man. I mean, there could be their relationship. It's not something I've quite recommended, even in the series itself. Like, there are hints, like there are like in book 2, there is like a scene where she's like getting undressed in front of him, but more as like a casual thing because they just used to that. And he's like, "What are you doing? The man and woman aren't supposed to like like be doing that unless they're like man and wife or whatever." And she's like, "Oh, what are you talking about? Like back in the day, we used to be in the springs together, and our families used to like have baths together." And he's like, "Well, that's not the way anymore." Like, and she's like, "It's just flesh." Or so they had like this thing that's going on, and there is a little underlying like tension there, but also yes, they've grown up together, so there's also just like, well, that's my sister over there. I don't know if I would like get with her, like kind of a thing, sort of. But like, but they grew up together, and the huge thing in it too is that they were split apart for a time. So they grew up in the same city. Issa's family refused to go to the new way, to the new religion, but the tax was too imposing. They come from the slums, so their family just like, all right, we're just moving south. We're just gonna move like further into the desert or whatever. We're not gonna deal with this. So for a long time, Issa was not in his life for like much of his adolescence, and then he kind of like got into the wrong crowds. He was like hanging out with hoodlums or whatever. And that's actually how he got into the military, because he was stealing someone's boat, which actually is talked about in book 2. He was stealing someone's boat, and it happened to be like a general or something like that. And he's like, "Hey, let's put you to some actual work and script him to the military." And that's where he reunited with Issa, because she also joined the military to help out with funds with her family and stuff like that. And then they kind of rekindled the academy. And since they're trying to catch up on all this like adolescent friendship that they never got to have, it strengthened their bond in the military. And now they're kind of like been inseparable for like the past 5-6 years that they've been in the military together.
Okay, so does the military see them like as a package deal, like, or is that just so happens to work out that way? They always end
up together, which is also something that's pointed out in book 2 as well. Because there's a Prince character who, like, when they're doing their debrief about like what happened, and they're like, and then she tries to like defend him in like the war meeting, and then like the prince like pulls up a log and goes like, this is interesting. I've seen that you guys have been like on the same cruise for like the past 5 years. Is that usual? And like trying to like play into like you're being biased for him. He made some mistakes. He needs to own up on that. So like that does come up, that they have found ways to stay on the same cruise throughout their military careers.
Okay, I like it. Okay, I think I'm good. We have like a couple of questions here for you. Like there are like 5 of them, and it's just a would you rather type thing. Both, and it's like both for you, like answering for the characters, but also like you as the author, as an author, if that makes sense. You ready?
Yes.
Let's do it.
All right. So, and you have to pick one. There are no maybes and I don't want tos and I can't. You have to pick a choice.
Okay, cool.
All right. So, would you rather have to kill off Zala or Kareem?
Kareem.
He answered it so smoothly. I thought that was a hard question.
Kareem.
He's got to go.
Kareem. The hard thing is if you may have put Jelani against somebody else, because Jelani is the one who's most susceptible. And actually, this is very funny. Me and my editor keep going back and forth between what will happen to Jelani in book 3. So actually, at this point, I don't even know if Jelani makes it or not.
Okay.
Oh,
okay. We'll see.
He's being. We're seeing. We'll see.
Okay, so nobody asked me, but I'm gonna give you my opinion anyway because that's who I am.
Yeah, and she's a great editor. So.
I'm gonna feel so bad for Zala if she goes through 3 books of trying to get back to this man and then he dies. Like, bruh.
Yeah. Well, no, he doesn't die immediately. Book 3 has some stuff that happens, but
we'll see.
There are reasons. We'll see. But also, the reason why me and my editor are talking about the pros of him being alive is because there's going to be in the second trilogy of Sky Pirate, which can almost be read on its own if you want. Like, if you don't want to go through the first 3 books, so it's more properly about Zala being Sky Pirate and trying to build that up. There's a specific situation where it'd be really nice if Jelani were around. So I'll just say that.
Gotcha.
Okay.
It's a situation
all right.
where it'd be very nice if he were around.
If you were around.
Would she stay a pirate if it wasn't for Jelani?
No, she probably wouldn't be a pirate. If she could earn money like legit somewhere, not risking their necks, she would do something else, obviously. But the reason why she's going to take it up throughout the books, there's going to be a reason why she's like not necessarily being a pirate for pirates' gold's sake, but then she's going to be doing it more for like fighting, because they're fighting this empire who's like building all these airships. She starts becoming basically like a rebel by the end of it.
I love rebels, so that appeals to me. Okay.
Yeah, I'm here for it.
Second question. You want to ask it or?
Yeah. Number 2. Would you rather have Mantu be captain or Kobe not really be dead?
Oh, okay. Wait, you mean like if Kobe came back?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you mean like would I rather Kobe not be dead or have Montu as captain?
Yeah.
Yes.
The second.
I'm okay with Montu being captain. He's actually a pretty cool guy. It's just that Zala just gets up in his face all the time, and
I can see that.
he's like, "Hey, I finally got my captain stuff. I don't need you getting in my face." Even though she's probably better at doing it because he's not. Very good. But but yeah, no, Montu, and we're gonna learn a lot more about Montu because him and Zala are gonna be together a lot more individually throughout the book too.
Mm-hmm.
So we're gonna see a lot more with him. You're gonna find out he's a pretty cool dude, and that Zala should have given him a chance because they actually like each other.
Okay.
That's
you.
good to know.
All right. Yeah. Go ahead, Chelsea.
All right. So this question is for you, like as an author, right? Would you rather put your own spin on a steampunk novel or a horror thriller type?
Steampunk. Okay. I'm actually not super into horror and thriller, which is funny because my first book kind of like totes the line on that of being dark fantasy, horror fantasy kind of a thing because of the demon thing. And it's funny because some of my readers, my beta readers, are like, "Oh, I really like that first one," and I was like, "But I like the action adventure Sky Pirates," So definitely steampunk for sure. I love that aesthetic.
Okay.
I love the ideas behind it, and like it's a bit like Sky Pirate is a bit of that, even though it's not really steampunk. It's more like magic punk because it's being powered by magical stones, not by steam engineering.
I'm with it. Okay.
Yeah. All right. Oh, it's me. It's my turn. Yeah. Okay. So would you rather? This is more of like for you, just as a person / author reader. Would you rather have never read Toni Morrison or never read Octavia Butler?
That's mean, y'all.
Heart.
May they both rest in peace.
Yeah.
May they both rest in peace. We don't mean this.
That's meaning. Aww. I have to keep Octavia Butler because of Kindred. I really, really love Kindred, man.
Oh, that was the first of her books that I ever read.
Kindred is
shook.
Yeah.
Shook.
I am like intimidated by it. Like I have it on my Kindle, and I'm so intimidated by it.
It's actually a very easy read. It's a
it's a quick read.
I think
it's a quick read.
I think I usually read it like in an afternoon usually.
It's quick, Chelsea, but
I do it.
It's heavy.
Yeah, but
and that's the thing that gets me. I'm like, and like the world we live in right now is so heavy.
Girl.
I'm like, I need Maxine Sky. I need light things.
I know.
Things that are gonna take me out of the real
how
world.
relevant it still is because it came out in the 70s, if I'm not mistaken, right?
It did. I think it came out in 75.
It's still completely relevant. Like
there's like
crazy.
A kind of adaptation coming out. Janelle Monáe starring in it. I think it's what's the name of it?
Wait, what? They're making a live action?
Yes, with Janelle Monáe.
Finally?
I think it's on Hulu. It's inspired by it. It's not like a direct one-to-one translation, but Janelle Monáe like wakes up and she is an enslaved Black woman, and like she keeps in the book itself. She's not falling asleep and happening. Like she's pulled through time.
Yeah.
And in the book, she's queen. Machine. Yeah, she has to go back and literally save. This isn't a spoiler. It's on the back cover.
Yeah, that's
she's pulled back and she has to save her white ancestor, who is committing like rape against her Black ancestor. So she has to save him so that that way her family could happen. That's why I say it's heavy. So like I like to tell people what it's about, so that if that's not your bag, I don't read it.
My whole thing is like I want to read it because I know it's a classic and I know that it's amazing and I know that it's like it will change my whole brain, right? However, buddy, it's heavy. That is
very,
heavy.
very, very,
there's some tough stuff in there.
And like I said, the world we live in right now is just a little heavy to carry just in general. So I'm not sure if I'm ready to pick up like another weight. if that makes
Antebellum.
sense.
Antebellum's the name of the show.
Oh,
So-
I've heard of that. I've totally heard of that.
Yeah.
I didn't know that was
It's
big.
a movie. Oh, I guess no, video on demand. Yeah.
Mm.
Coming out September 18th.
Oh,
I don't want to watch it.
Yeah.
I don't want to
So,
watch
yeah.
it.
I probably will. But yeah, it's
They also adapted it as a graphic novel as well.
yes, they
yeah.
did.
Which I haven't actually read, but
I've
that's
heard of
not-
the graphic novel. I watched
Yes.
somebody on YouTube actually review it. I can't think of her name right now, but yeah, she was telling me about it, and I was just like, yo, I will read it. It is on like my I will read this book before I die. However,
it's a good one. If you're a reader, I mean, you are a reader, so I feel like you'll enjoy it. But
yes, I've never read a book
Girl.
before. I just pretend.
it's
I'm
your
really good at it.
first reading.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, we have one last question. Chelsea, we're gonna be here all day. Do you want to go ahead?
Okay, yes. Who would you rather put in a sparring match against each other? Sniffs and Mantu or Fawn and Zala?
a sparring match together.
Yeah.
That Zala and Fawn would never. I mean, that's kind of funny. If we do choose Fawn, because they're both very terrible fighters, so that would be like the most awkward kind of thing. And also, they probably wouldn't want to like really swipe at each other. So
Yeah.
it'd be like the weirdest. It'd be like the funny. Just I'll choose them just because it'd be funny to like see them trying to spar at each other. And then like maybe like Shamari watching them like, oh, such poor form because like he's over here like, oh my god.
I can see both
Your wrist,
Shamari
your
and
wrist.
Jelani on the end, on the outside, just watching
face
them
palming.
like, what have we done?
Right.
Who are these people that we love? Why are they
Yeah.
like this?
Oh my goodness. Yeah, that'd
Okay.
be a really funny sparring session. They're like, all right, you guys learn how to fight. Show us what you could do. And they're like,
That was painful, ladies.
It's
So
just
definitely Sniffs and Montu then.
better when we fight other people together versus like when we fight each other.
Okay. Well, that's all the questions that we had for you, sir. Like,
Ah, thank you, Antoine.
you.
This was great.
fantastic. So, for anybody watching this now or in the future, first of all, thank you so much for being here and enjoying this conversation with Antoine. If you have not picked up a copy of his book yet, by Sea and Sky, you should absolutely do that. There's a link down in the description box below where you can do that. And yeah, if you like this video and you want more of these and you want to be able to participate in the live, then consider joining us on Patreon. We have a $3, $5, and $10 tier, and all of them get you into the behind the cover discussions that we have with these authors. So if that interests you, there's also a link to that in the description box below. Just check out the description box. There's a link to everything. There's a link to LaCase, so you should definitely subscribe to her on YouTube. There's a link to Antoine. You should definitely subscribe to him on YouTube because he has amazing content. No offense, LaCase, but he has amazing content.
Some taken. I'm
Which I have to work on right now, actually. I gotta do a video right now.
Oh, nice.
Awesome. And so yeah, that is the whole spiel. That's not the normal one, but I don't have it written over here off to the side so I can casually spew it off real smooth like. So that's it. If you like the video, tap the thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel, turn on the notifications, do the same for both of them, and we will catch you guys next time. And until then, may your days be lovely and your books interesting. Bye, you guys.
Bye.